Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back from our second commercial break. This is Paraversal Universe on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, also heard on WCET-FM, High Point Radio, and the Rift Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malik. Before we get back to the show, we want to tell you all that we are on Twitter as NWPS and MeWe as Paraversal Universe. Our like and group pages on Facebook are under various headings as well. Having said that, check out our society's like page on Facebook, the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited, as well as Jennifer's like page, Jennifer Malik, Psychic Demonologist. Leave a like if you like what you see. We always appreciate it. And there are some Facebook group pages we also want you to check out. The Ultimate Conspiracies group page is one. The Lake Monstrosities group page is another. Feel free to join them both. We would certainly love to see you there. Each network mentioned has a group and like page on Facebook as well, so check that out for upcoming content. This segment is brought to you by the book Trail of the Sasquatch, A Shaman's Journey, by cryptozoologist and Iroquois shaman Don Young, who is also a member of the NWPS. Check out his Facebook group page, Kindred Forest and Indigenous Americas. Any comments for this week's show can be addressed in the chat room live. Let's get back to the show. This is Paraversal Universe, and we're talking conspiracies and crimes and corruption with geopolitical and conspiratorial analysts Riscalla Stephen and Angel Strong from the Red Pill Reality Show. So, when we were on during break, we had brought up a couple topics were brought up, and one of these segments I wanted to talk about what's going on today, and I also want to take one of these segments and talk about the spirituality behind this a little more. But for this segment, there was certainly the fire of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Is what a lot of people are talking about right now. So I guess I'd just like to get your thoughts.
Because what happened was certainly tragic.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Do you guys have any? Have you been following that? Do you have any perspectives on that?
Of course.
Okay, let's hear it. Yay.
Well, it's very odd to me. First of all, the way the fire was so accelerated looking to me. I mean, I understand because I have a background in electrical engineering. So, I mean, I know that sparks hit something, something shorted or would have had to short. And apparently, I don't know who was in there, but the spark had to hit something that was flammable. Like that's 800-year-old wood. What made it so intense? I mean, did a curtain catch on fire? What happened? But one of the odd things to me, one of the many odd things, is it was a month to the day, I believe, was like March 15th that the mosque supposed shooting in New Zealand happened. 30 days to the day, or a month to the day, that it happened in a place called Christchurch, New Zealand. So when I look at those things, conspiracy blossoms. Because in New Zealand, that's where that mosque supposed shooting was in Christchurch.
Yes.
Then a month later, we've got this fire blazing, and we did see, and it's not a conspiracy, we did see some Muslims cheering. And it's not photoshopped. It's been, these are news reports where they would love to burn churches down.
They have been burning churches down.
Well, I feel if it's arson, it's either going to be from that source or it would be from deep within. For example, they said right before the fire, they pulled out them 12 statues.
They took off the gargoyles.
You know, it's like so if they knew it was coming inside the people that are within the organization, I mean,
Yeah, well,
and I believe there's numerology, the gematria and the numerology behind this stuff too. I mean, they have certain days that they do things because of their religious beliefs and practices.
They absolutely do. All we have to do is look back to Syria to see when ISIS was going in there destroying every temple, even the temples of Baal. They were tearing them down, but they were keeping certain statues that they had pulled out prior. And it reminds me, it's very much like the left here in the US of A. What are they doing? They're tearing down every single statue of any kind of our history, like trying to rebuild the history. This is happening worldwide. And it's just so obvious to us, but we know, and I'm just going to throw this in, it's obvious that to me, as somebody that has an engineering background, I find it very questionable that something just happened, some short circuit. And I know that it's just a guess, but it's an educated one. So.
Yeah. You know what, too, I heard, and it wasn't just Notre Dame, for that whole entire week, all across France, or Paris, Catholic churches were targeted, and they were experiencing fires, too. And as a matter of fact, and here in the States, and I told Kevin about this a couple of nights ago, somebody got arrested in New York City in St. Patrick's Cathedral. He was walking through the church with 2 7-gallon jugs full of gasoline and lighter fluid. And when he got stopped, he said that this is a head scratcher. He said that his car ran out of gas and he had to cut through the church to get out through the south side to get to his car.
And his car wasn't out of gas.
The tank was empty, so.
And he said his tank was empty.
And they checked, and it was.
He must have got his direction from Jussie Smollett.
There you go.
But could you imagine, though? I mean, if he is innocent, and he may be, because like his vehicle did run out of gas. Yeah. And what he said was making common sense.
Yeah, but here's what sticks out to me. Well, why don't you walk around the block like a normal person? Why do you need to cut through a Catholic church to get to your car?
That's the kind of person that's caught with their hand in a cookie jar, and then you tell them, "I told you no cookies. I wasn't taking any. I just wanted to see what that felt like."
Yeah. Right.
Let me put in something about what happened with regard to the fire.
Right.
I know without a doubt, it's not a matter of believing. I know that there is a movement to bring this to a one world government, and within that one world government there will be a one world religion, and that one world religion will end up being, more than likely, called Chrislam. Now the evidence of that is the Pope has just invited some imams to the Vatican for Muslim prayers. Okay, so I know that there is a movement for a one world government. There is a movement for a one world religion, and the easiest way to get people to move into that is to forget, just like what we've been talking about. We're ripping down our history and removing it and then rebuilding it with something else. There's talk of rebuilding Notre Dame with less Christian influence in it. Have you heard that yet?
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yes.
So we tear it down.
They wanted to make it more of today's France than yesteryear.
Yeah. Tear it down and then rebuild it more in leaning to Chrislam. Less Christian influence was the terminology I read.
You know, we do know the Pope has talked and allowed the Quran and has in some ways said that Islam, and I'm not talking about all Muslims, because the majority of Muslims are just normal, normal people.
I have friends
but
who
the
are
ones
Muslim.
that
You'd never know.
Right, that are very nice. And I'm talking about the extremists, though. I mean, first of all, their sign is a sword. That's their calling card. I mean, I don't need to be a nuclear physicist to figure out that somebody that has a sword as their symbol isn't coming over to play patty cakes.
There we go.
But the majority of them are like, and I say this lovingly, but are like born into it, like a Christian.
Yes.
A lot of Christians say that they're Christian, but they don't even know one letter or scripture in the biblical text, but they were born into it. And that's the same with a lot of Muslims. They're born into the faith of Islam. But this Islam is the Pope allowing the Quran, and believe me, I've been at synagogues that allowed it too. And I've gotten up, first of all, I ran up to the rabbi and told him to step outside. Nobody's ever taken me up on it. But they allow it in the synagogues too. People that despise them. And they let them have the pulpit. And this was one rabbi with Time Magazine's Rabbi of the Year. I was sitting there. I got up and walked out.
You remember the story of the snake? President Trump. Yeah. He wasn't president at the time. He was candidate Trump. The story
I know exactly.
That's exactly what this parallels in what's going on in this country today. We are allowing our enemies to come literally within us. When I was in the military, my biggest fear, believe it or not, this went on in school. This is, again, it's a system. We had two kinds of drills in school. We had the fire drill, and then we had the air drill. We would get up under, and there were two different kinds of sirens. The air drill, we would get up under our desks and place our heads between our knees in a fetal position and practice, because we could be being bombed at that time. That's to protect us for whatever good it would do, but to protect us from the bombs. So as kids, you can imagine, I went through this all the way through 6th grade, these air raids things. So one of my greatest fears when I joined the military was us using nuclear weapons on each other, because the war in Vietnam was raging, and there was talk about looking for expanding and doing this and doing that. And my greatest fear was literally, I was like in tears kind of fear that we were going to be involved in a nuclear war. And one night, one of my friends was talking to me. He says, and he'd been in he was what we called a lifer. He'd been in for like 20 some odd years at that point. He was telling me, son, you got it all wrong. They'll never be able to beat us physically. The only way that this country can be defeated, because of the way that it's put together, is to be defeated from the inside out. That's exactly what is happening to us today. We are being defeated from the inside out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we were worried about it. The forefathers told us it was going to happen.
The left never talks about America or the USA America or God. They've removed God. I mean, we have half a country that absolutely despises. I mean, at the DNC convention, do you all remember they booed the very title God?
How shameful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and this country was founded on "In God We Trust." In other words, there was a pretense of greater good over evil. And with the way propaganda is being dished out today, they flipped that upside down. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem here is that you have a majority of these people that listen to what the people on TV tell them to do. It's like they can't even think for themselves.
The system.
They go exactly what they got to by TV. And with that, it's time for our next commercial break. You're listening to Paraversal Universe. We'll be right back with our guest for the next segment.
Support for this NPR podcast and the following message come from the UPS Store, offering services from shredding to printing to mailboxing. And instead of closing this Easter weekend, April 19th and April 20th, the UPS Store is doing another ING altogether, opening. The UPS Store every ing for small business, and of course, shipping.